Hello friends, my name is Vandrel and today I want to share with you one of the things I do to increase my profitability during Heart of Thorns meta events. I love the concept of a meta event, working together with players you've possibly never met towards a shared goal to then finish with a boss fight of epic proportions. The problem I have with most of them though is that there is always that one big moment of downtime, whether it's waiting for the choppers in Verdant Brink, or staring at a wall for 15 minutes in Auric Basin, or making sure to load in early in Tangle Depths so you don't get locked out of a full map instance, only to then finish with another 10 minutes of downtime while staring at a wall again. To combat this, I started looking at what was possible to do during this downtime, and the simple answer was opening chests with any spare keys I had and go hunting for treasure mushrooms. And this was a nice solution, but there was still room for improvement. So I started doing the repeatable hero points, and it turns out that these give very good rewards, especially for the time you have to invest in them. You get 20 of the map currency per kill, and you get a container with unidentified gear. On top of that, you get 30,000 event experience that can be boosted up to near 50,000 with the right boosters. Now, if you've been struggling to do these hero points and vow to never return unless you absolutely had to, you might be thinking that this is not for you. But with this video series, I want to change that. To efficiently solo these bosses, you actually only need two things. You need to be aware of the one or sometimes two mechanics you need to avoid at all costs, and the second thing is a solid build. I will be using a Celestial Mechanist for the simple reason that my pet is gonna do almost all of the work for me, and the build itself requires little thought to play while providing excellent damage and survivability. Make sure you stick it out to the end of the guide, as I'll go over the mechanics you need to avoid to successfully start soloing these bosses yourself. Today we're gonna start with Verdant Brink, and over the next few videos we'll work our way through Auric Basin and Tangle Depths. For our build itself, we're going to be using the tool straight line. This will boost various tool build skills, which might seem like an oxymoron when playing Mechanist, as we don't have access to our tool belts at all. But what isn't explained well in the traits is that these traits also function off of your mech skills. And we're going to put all of our mech's attacks on autocast, so you don't have to worry about micromanaging your pet. The second trait line is Firearms, and this is going to do a lot for us. Critical hits have a chance to cause bleeding, and bleeding in turns increases our critical hit chance. This trait line also further boosts any bleeding and burning damage we will inflict, as well as reducing our pistol skills and increasing our overall condition damage. And for our elite spec, we're of course choosing the Mechanist. This will give us access to our big green friend, who will be tanking most of the hits for us, and increase our DPS without really any involvement from us. All of the chosen traits further boost his condition damage, and the Grandmaster trait is going to give us some quickness as well. And with that out of the way, let's take a look at the skills on our toolbar. We're going to be using a mace and pistol, which is gonna offer us a nice mix of damage and crowd control. When you see a boss get a break bar, just press mace 3 and pistol 5. Both of these combined with your max abilities should be enough to break almost all of them. As for the utilities, we'll be taking all signets. If you take too much damage, don't be afraid to use your heal signet. You'd rather lose some healing over time than getting to enjoy a floor point of view. You can use your barrier signet off cooldown, which is gonna increase your survivability even further. And here's a nice little trick. If you're not within range of the barrier of your mech, use shift signet so you both teleport to the same spot. And finally, we have Superconducting Signet and the Elite Signet. Little needs to be said about these, just spam them off cooldown to chunk down bosses even faster. And now let's take a look at the 4 bosses in Verdant Brink. The first one is going to be the easiest. The Night Distal Bloom spawns a veteran boss and a few minions. If you spam your skills off cooldown, they should die almost instantly, and you get to collect your first loot chest. Next, we'll take a look at the Broodmother. This vampire bat is a headache and a reality check for many players stepping into Heart of Thorns for the first time. But don't worry, we're gonna have our mech do 90% of the work for us by taking all of her hits. Before you focus on her, kill her 2 minions first. The longer they're alive, the more under pressure you're going to be. and both should die within 5 to 10 seconds, so you only have to worry about a single target. For the Broodmother herself, you only need to remember two things. The first is to stand behind her at all times, and if she focuses on you, just run around a bit until she starts attacking the Meg. The second mechanic should be largely negated with the build I provided you with in the first part of this video. At some point, she's going to channel a red beam that deals incredibly high damage and heals her back faster than we can damage her. This beam can be interrupted by breaking her break bar, which you can do with Mace 3 and Pistol 5, and if you can use Superconducting Signet, press that one as well. And if this fails, don't worry. Just use your Shift Signet to teleport out of line of sight and she can't heal back or damage you, and once she stops channeling, she's basically a free kill as long as you don't stand in front of her. Then we get to our third hero point, which is the big golem. In the footage I'm going to be showing, I played way too recklessly and I made a bunch of mistakes, but we got some good information from that. You can actually ignore all the little robots that heal him. Our damage is going to surpass the regen and protection he's going to get from them. Now, if you want to be smart about the fight, kite the golem to the back of the platform and it's an even easier kill. He has two attacks that are more annoying than dangerous. When he spins, just dodge out and wait till he stops. And when he shoots his fist at you, he's gonna pull you in. If he manages to catch you, simply use your Shift Signet to break the stun and move away. And the rest of the fight is more of a tank and spank ordeal than anything else, making this a relatively easy hero point. And finally, we get to the frogs. These were a nightmare before I understood how to deal with them efficiently. As with the Broodmother, just kill the two minions first, they deal high damage and they stack conditions. And then it's time to focus down the big frog. Every time he has a break bar, just use Mace 3 and Pistol 5, and once he's crowd controlled, you have a few moments of free and increased damage. He has a bunch of ranged attacks, but our build is going to be countering that just by pressing barrier signets, and this means you only have to worry about a single of his attacks. If he teleports to you, just dodge out of the way so you're not standing in front of him. It's basically like the Broodmother. His melee attack is gonna hit like a truck, and if you avoid that, he's basically a pushover. Now, if you happen to fail the first few times, don't despair. The fights are going to be easier to get when you know what to look for, and the loot you're going to receive is definitely worth the investment. By killing these 4 hero points in Verdant Brink, you can get about 14 Pale Reaver chests. Last time I opened them, they granted me 14 blue, 10 green and 4 yellow unidentified gear, which was about 75 silver worth of loot. On top of that, we also got the 80 airship parts and half a level of experience, and all of this for less than 5 minutes worth of fighting. And that's about it for this video. In the next part of this series, I'll take you through the bosses in Auric Basin before we visit the Tangled Depths. Both of the next maps are going to give you even more rewards, and most of the bosses can be dealt with once more by simply knowing one mechanic. If you have any comments or questions, make sure to leave them down below. If you liked it, please like this video, and your subscription would mean the world to me.